Hello and welcome to episode 75. Today's review of a Nintendo product is a little obscure, and it isn't even a game. However, it is made with many parts and similarities to the multi-screen series of game and watches that we have previously reviewed here on our channel. So, let's offer a warm welcome to the not-so-famous Game & Watch half-brother, the handheld fishing aid Nintendo made called Bassmate. Being first offered for sale during March 1984, this device exceeded initial projections by selling an estimated 100,000 units. But before we go any further into today's star and focus, let's briefly take a look back at episode 74 and the photo quiz question we on our channel call, What in the World? And it is a blue box set Wii console. It is also a limited edition Skylanders Giant set too. I'm guessing that the color may have thrown a few off with their guesses, as the blue Wii console is likely a lot rarer than either the white, black and even red versions. Well, did you guess correctly? The Bassmate was manufactured by Nintendo and co-designed by the Game & Watch team from Gunpei Yokoi's R&D1 department. So, being a Nintendo manufactured unit and heavily influenced by the multi-screen Game & Watch series, I've decided to attach this review to the end of the Game & Watch channel segment. For an initial comparison, I've set it aside to the multi-screen Game & Watch called Donkey Kong 2, and while it is not identical, the similarities are striking. American engineer, Bill Olages, was the inventor of the Bassmate. He conceived it together with his business partner Ed Miller, who took care of the marketing through his company Telko. In an earlier stage of his career, Bill was involved in the American arcade business. Bill Olages said that this period in early 1983 was the time when Nintendo had just recently released their Game & Watch multi-screen handheld range, and it looked like a good platform for this novel product. He adds, "We knew several executives from Nintendo through Mike Kogan's Taito company in Japan. We approached Nintendo with the project, and they seemed to be quite interested in a sporting type product that was not simply a game machine. Nintendo saw it as diversifying into a new segment of the market." Nintendo's Okada-san is on record as saying, "The computer data that we received from the US company for the Bassmate development was so big that it was going to be really hard to put it all in the small Game & Watch's existing integrated circuits. So, we asked a great programmer, back then he was working at Sharp the electronics giant, for his help with this problem. And he helped us a lot, really saving the joint project. We were very thankful to Sharp Electronics for this." The back page of the instructions booklet carries a product endorsement from legendary angler Ken Cook. The device uses a three-step process that is actually straightforward. Firstly, enter the conditions. This is the longest step, but easily done, so choose a season, work out the approximate water depth, its clarity, use the thermometer that's supplied, then add in the surface temperature, the time of day, any cover and so on. Then you just press the compute button. The top screen tells you which lure to use. It's really that simple. The Bassmate computer was primarily sold in the US and was fairly successful. Bill Olages is quoted as saying, "The Bassmate was widely sold by Sears at that time, as well as through various mail-order catalogs and other sports-oriented distributors. I do not recall precise production numbers, but I believe it was in the area of at least 100,000 units. The initial retail price started at somewhere about $80 but eventually declined to only about $39. Also, the fact that it was made by Nintendo was never given much coverage, being distributed under several brand names, much like Mego did with their timeout marketing of Nintendo's first series of Game & Watches in North America. As previously mentioned, the Bassmate was sold by Telko under its own name, as well as under a number of different labels, all related to the various companies that got involved in its marketing, like the KMV unit seen here, as well as one called Probe 2000. Bill Olages added, "Some of Telko's marketing efforts were supported financially by John Woolard, of KMV in Chicago, and the Probe 2000 version was solely aimed at the then lucrative catalog sales." The Bassmate original set came with a thermometer and protection pouch, which can be seen here. And as with the Game & Watch lineup, two LR44 button cell batteries were included with the original purchase. Nintendo elected to part ways with Telko after the original Bassmate, however the company continued to produce follow-up clone handhelds, such as the Chinese-made Bassmate 2, the quality of which is clearly lower than the original Japanese-made one by Nintendo, and then there was the near-identical Hong Kong-manufactured Walleye version, which is actually much higher quality, but still short of Nintendo's original accomplishment, with all three being seen here. And while all three have different manufacturers, they all retain the near-identical Game & Watch multi-screen design, with a hinged dual screen and delightful painted metal faceplate. It is perhaps the rear of each device that shows the greatest variance, with the Nintendo-made version being a near-identical copy to the original source template design, that being the Game & Watch multi-screen series, which is followed up by the next closest version, that being the Walleye Mate variant, that's the one made in Hong Kong, and as an aside, it was sold as a blister pack, hence you'll see the glue stains where it was attached to the retail packaging, with the Bassmate 2 bringing up the rear, being the least Nintendo-like, in both design and quality, while also requiring 3 LR44 batteries to operate it. And that brings us to the part in the show where I ask the question, what in the world? Where we give you a partial photograph of a Nintendo item and see if you can guess what it is. Please feel free to comment below, or tune into next week's episode and find out. With that said and done, thank you once again for joining me here today. I'd encourage you all to add that thumbs up by liking the content. Also think about subscribing if you've not done that already, but most of all, I'd like to thank each and everyone for joining me here today. So, thank you.